Dude, I got a lot of love for Teeqo and Rain and Temper and Apex and Adapt and everybody at FaZe. I really do. I think there's two sides of that coin, or two sides of that story. What FaZe built, what those 4 or 5 guys and everybody else that was a part of FaZe built is truly special, man. Like, nobody can doubt or question the cultural impact that FaZe has had on gaming. One of the biggest teams, if not the biggest team, in terms of overall brand recognition in the entire world. And you want to poke holes in that all day, fine. But from my generation, FaZe and Optic, not including like the TSMs and the Team Liquids and the Fanatics and the G2, all that. FaZe is probably one of the most recognizable brands. Like, if you went up to an 18-year-old kid today and asked them if they know who Team Liquid is, I'm sure you get like 3, 4 out of 10, maybe. But if you go to an 18-year-old kid and ask him, do you know what FaZe is? More times than not, I would think like 7, 8, 9 out of 10 are probably going to know what that is. So, that logic might not be perfect, but that's my perception of it. It really depends on where you're asking, who you're asking. But overall, North America, I think more people are going to know what FaZe is in comparison to any other team. So they've done an incredible job building up that business. But the problem is, when you build something really strong and really exciting and it's really moving and shifting and shaking an industry, people are going to want to come in and they're going to want to be a part of it. And, FaZe as a business, as they scaled, they needed money to pay for the growth that they were trying to have from a business perspective. So I think FaZe is going to be okay long term. I mean, I hate to see like the original creators have such a sour taste in their mouth, because it's really hard for these kids that grew up building this thing, and then, they take on capital, they raise money. Now there's more people at the table that they don't think belong there. And if, Teeqo and Rain aren't the guys that are actually vetting who's coming in and investing in the business and who's running it day to day, that's a tougher situation for them to be in. I don't know if they were welcomed into the process, if they were consulted, or if they had talked as a group more broadly. But, this is just the way business works. And so I understand if there's feelings of resentment, if they weren't made whole and able to have a say in what they're doing, or the FaZe business as a whole, then I understand why they feel the way that they do. Like, there's no denying that emotion, right? But, the decision makers at the time, they've gone through different iterations of ownership and who's sort of, guiding the ship. And it's just hard, man. It's hard for kids that don't have experience when you bring on investors and you bring on executives come run the company. In a lot of ways, going back to what I was saying, you kind of just trust them to make the right decisions for FaZe and for you. But that's not always going to be the case, man, because sometimes what you're chasing after FaZe as a brand does not align with what the investors and the people that are now putting their own skin in the game need to go to do to make money. So I just think the dynamic and people's perspectives, I think everybody's perspective is probably fair in their own minds, but from everybody else from on the other side of the fence, they feel like they got one done over on them. So I just think it's just a really tough situation, brother. That's just what happens when you bring on investors and you bring on other people to run the shit for you. You lose control, you lose creative control, you lose where this journey is taking you. So I hope they can get it squared away. I don't think what's happened on the stock market is really fair to like FaZe as in terms of what they've built, and probably one of the worst times in history to go public through a SPAC. I don't think a lot. Some of the things that FaZe is, their market cap and everything that they're dealing with right now, I don't think everything is as abysmal as the market's making it out to be. FaZe is still a really, really strong brand. And if they make certain decisions and sort of clean some things up, I think it could be a really successful business. You know, I want them to succeed, man. That's only better for me. It's only better for the industry as a whole. And that's the other thing I don't like about esports is like everybody likes to poke fun and, you know, like preying on people's downfall. They might not be preying on their downfall, but, you know, everybody's like foaming at the mouth when they see how poorly FaZe is performing on the market. And it's either like one of two things, like all the smart people in esports are like, I fucking told you so. And then the journalists are like foaming at the mouth because, you know, they know how many clicks they're going to get with how bad of a situation it is. But let me tell you this, and let me be abundantly clear. FaZe is the lack of success on the market. And, you know, you could say that that was their own doing and they fucked us by jumping in and giving that a shot. Their lack of success on the market is a terrible thing for the esports industry as a whole, man. Like, people look at that, outside investors or people that want to be a part of gaming and they want to invest in it, they won't touch it with a 100-foot pole, seeing what's happened. And I think the savvy investors that know that that's just like a very unique situation, they'll still be involved. But it's always just going to make the introduction and the conversation around money tougher for anybody that isn't a part of gaming now and wants to be a part of it in the future. So I just, you know, it's hard for you to talk about these things because everybody wants to be competitive with each other. I was certainly in the early days of 100 Thieves. Like, I wanted to beat everybody in business and on stage. And I didn't want anybody out taking food off my plate. Somebody picked up a partner or sponsor that I really want to work with, I'm fucking pissed. But at the end of the day, you know, the tides raise all ships. And I don't know if it's because I became more mature, or I don't know if it's because there's a little bit of pessimism around esports, but I really do. And for the last year and a half, 2 years, I want everybody to win, man. There's enough room for everybody to eat, but we got to help each other out. And there's no way for us to control the community and their sentiments around these teams and the dynamic between the teams and the players and the creators and the business that they're running. You know, everybody just likes to poke fun and say, oh, I would have done so much better, or you guys made some really stupid decisions, or how can these executives, these old fucking people, you know, they don't know what they're fucking doing. You know, I saw a lot of employees or former employees and people that are very young in their careers acting like they got all the answers. And I've seen both sides of the fence now. This shit is not easy. It's not easy. And I'll tell you, 99% of people that I've met that work on the back end at esports teams, they're not over here plotting like Mr. Burns, like, how the fuck am I going to hoodwink and do one over on the community so I can line my pockets? There might be some, but those are few and far between. So I think just in general, people need to be a little bit more uplifting and a little bit more supportive and not as pessimistic and five-head, oh, that was a really dumb fucking decision. Thanks a lot, idiots. You know, it's just not that black and white.